Hello everyone. Hopefully everyone can see and hear me okay, and we're all good to go. Welcome to Question Time, our weekly live show where I ask any question you have about games development, Unreal Engine, or anything you really want at all. If this is your first time here, all you have to do is put your question into chat, and I'll try and grab as many as I can within the time frame we have here. If you're a Patreon member, you actually get access to a queue jump system. If you can't catch the stream live, but you still want a question answered, you can chuck it into a Discord channel dedicated for it, and yeah, and then I'll answer it. So we are live, so just to see who's in chat here. Where am I? Hello, Jay, Kiwi Doggy, Identity, Oleg, Michael, hello everyone, Angus, how are we all? Strange timing to stream, isn't it? It's midnight here in France. Yeah, it's 11 PM here in the UK. My kids were asleep. House is quiet. I can stream. Plus, a lot of the audience are Americans. Anyway, so I thought before we get into everything, who here saw this JRPG trailer? You know, if you have seen that and what you think of it. So I've really enjoyed making the RPG trailer. So what I thought I'd do is give you a little live demo of its current state. It isn't finished. Probably got to film 2 more episodes of it. But it's pretty much nearly done. So I'm going to show you a little preview of it live, and then we'll get into the question and answer stuff. Let's jump in here. Okay, so yeah, this is a JRPG thing. It's something that people have been asking me for a while to do. But yeah, so let's go. Push play. Go full screen. This doesn't break. Okay, so you have like the field mode where you can run around, talk to NPCs, go shopping, whatever it may be. And then yeah, and then you get a random battle, and you get the screen crash. And you get a UI which has this nice effect on it where it will like fades in like cards. I can do attacks, all sounds, all effects, and every asset, every sound effect, every piece of music is included in the starter pack, which is available for everyone when the series starts. People, so you got different spells here, so fire. There's items as well, but I don't think I've got any items. No, I haven't. But they all there as well. We'll do some magic. We'll do some thunder. There we go. And they all did. And then you go this. I haven't yet done the transition from the battle to the world, so that's a kind of a cut. And that's one of the last things to do to this. So it includes full leveling up, saving and loading. It includes all of that stuff, all optimized as well, so it's nice and tidy. It remembers where you were in the level when it takes you back, and yeah. I might have only got one enemy set up, but you'll see during the series how you can make any. But yeah. She got cure? No, she hasn't got cure. Let's do one of lost. So I really wanted to do something with like the Paragon characters, that wasn't just a MOBA. But he has cure, so cure on him. Yeah, she cures. Anyway, that's that. So yeah, it's really cool. I've had really good fun making it. And I could see myself wanting to make a proper RPG, like fully fledged with all the enemies, items, spells, everything. At some point, but not anytime soon. So it's just so busy. But yeah, I'll just save that and close that. But yeah. Right, okay, so let's just jump straight into now the questions. All right. So I've got some questions over on the Discord channel from Patreon members. We've got a question from Orin. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that name wrong. How do we change the mouse cursor for things such as hover over items, something interactable, or screen scrolling arrows, RTS style? I found some basic setting to change the defaults, but not how to change them with blueprints. It's pretty simple, really. So whenever you want to change the cursor, I'll just do it in here. Yeah, so whenever you want to change the cursor via blueprint, all you got to do is get the player controller first. So anything to do with controllers, mouse, keyboard, anything to do with that, you want to use a controller. So you need to get player controller, and then you just set cursor. You'll see set mouse cursor widget. It'll tell you which cursor you want to use. So these are the ones you got to define, maybe in the project settings. It sounds like the ones you've seen. But you just pick one of these, and so it'll go, I don't know, resize up and down, and you just choose what widget you want it to use, and that's it. What you got to do, and you make sure you turn it back and so forth. But yeah, that's how you do mouse cursor changes. Question: how would you go about making a large vehicle like a bus or boat that a player can walk about in / on while it's being driven by another player? It's the same as anything else, really. So you make one of the players possess a car, and the other character should be able to ride on it. One of the default behaviors of the character class is that it will inherit the movement of the object it's standing on. So if it's on a platform that's moving, it will stand on it and it will go with the platform. So it should theoretically work. Obviously, we can't make it all now because it's quite a large thing to make, but it should be work like normal. There shouldn't be any issue with that. You also just have to make the collisions able to allow it. Question from Trilobite: do I have any plans to update a day-night cycle using a sky atmosphere system? The sun rotation is easy enough using the previous method, but getting stars / moon implemented without having visible skybox skysphere is proving to be more difficult than I expected. I haven't yet tried it, so it's something we will try at some point, but I can't say for certain if I'll get around to making an updated video on that. Question: how to make AI move by jumping in a grid? So the jumping is an animation, and you could just make the capsule just move to a normal grid position, and when they are moving / walking, it's just a jump animation instead. So they just go up and down. That's the easiest way of doing it. So you just fake it. So the capsule itself is moving along like normal, but the animation is doing the jump motion. That'd probably be the easiest thing to do. And they'll just go boom, boom, boom into the grid. Yeah. Doom Expert, how would you make an analog? I think I've got all the questions from there. Oh wait, no, there's another question in the chat here as well. So Reckless is asking, your aim offset is perfect. Your animations from the marketplace don't match the weapons made by your team. So when our character's holding a weapon, the position of their hands aren't exactly where we want them to be. I want the character's left hand to be on the foregrip for this gun, but in a different location for another gun. We are trying to find the best way to position the hands for 20+ weapon types, grips without needing 20+ different animations to match. I was thinking each gun could use the same aim animation. If there was a way to move my character's left hand to a different position, depending on the gun attachments, left hand on foregrip, left hand holding grip, so forth. And you said you was hoping to do this with IK, but didn't find a way to apply it here. So it is IK. Basically, you have the right hand is static, okay, and that's holding that, and then your left hand is moving in mesh space, probably. Think so, or it's either mesh space or parent space, and you move it to a bone that you've got on the gun, which is the grip bone. So you make a bone on the gun or socket. If you want to go that way, you can do that way. Ultimately, you need some way to reference that grip location. So a socket, either a socket or a bone. Probably a bone is going to be quicker if you're making your own weapons. But yeah, be the way to do that. But yes, it is going to be IK. Okay, so let's jump into YouTube chat here. Doom Expert, how would you make an analog clock real time that you can tell the clock how many seconds have passed so it can act like a real clock? Okay, so there's loads of time functions you can look at. So if you just right click and search for time, you'll see you've got all these things here. Okay, and you're bound to find the solution you want here. So for example, if you want to get the time that it is right now, you can do this and output that time as you want. This struct here, if you were to break it, you get it down as year, month, day, hour, minute, second, millisecond. So then you can print out whatever part you want to print out. So if you want to get the local time, this by the way now goes by your local time on your computer. So if you want to get that, you can do. If you want to know how many seconds you've been playing the game for example, you can. I think this is an easy way, but right now I can't remember what it is. You'd get this at the start of the game, and then get it again later in the game. You can just take it away and see how many seconds have passed. But I think there's an easy way of doing it. I'm not too sure though. I'm not entirely sure. I have to look into it. But nonetheless, you can just get the now at the start of the game, and later on you hit the now again, and you can work it out from that. You can also do things like if you need to find the not local time but the UTC time, you can also get that here too. You can also get the day of the week it's in. You can get how many seconds you're in, so you just go get a second, for example. You can work it out from there, so on and so forth. But yeah, that's basically the starting blocks for that. The exact use you want to use for that, I don't know, but I'll give you one example of an issue that people often ask me about, and that is replicating that thing you see in mobile games where when you have lives and they recharge over half an hour, for example, but you may close the game and come back to it. How do you know the game's been closed for half an hour? But what you do is when the game closes, you save the day and time that it was last when it was closed. And when they load up the game, you see what time it is now and work out the difference and divide that by how many minutes that you need to do the recharge, and then you award how many lives you want to reward. So like you can just do like date time minus date time, and that's it. You'll get the new date time here, so you can work out how many days, hours, minutes, seconds, and so forth have passed between these two times. So that's a useful thing, people. Vlad, hi Ryan, is it possible to spawn triggers or hide and set them to active? So a trigger volume is pretty much just a box collision actor that has a event dispatcher on it. So this box trigger is a trigger volume, okay, or trigger box, but this is essentially just like anything else. So you can turn off its collision entirely if you want. At the moment, its collision preset set the trigger, but you can change its collision enabled. See where it's set to query only? You can change that to no collision, and it will turn it off. And then when you want it to turn it on, you can collision on. You can also spawn a trigger box volume however you want, like normal. Actor from class, and you should find it in here. There you go, trigger box, capsule, and sphere. So you can spawn them in during runtime whenever you want, and they'll do the same thing there. And if you want to disable them, you can just get their collision here, set collision enabled, turn it off, turn it on. You can also get their collision component, then set collision enabled, no collision. And when you want to take it back on, you turn on query only. You don't need to do physics only or collision enabled, because you don't need physics. You only need to do overlaps. So, identity. When retargeting to the UE4 skeleton, if there are extra bones in addition to the UE4 skeleton, like face bones, for example, I'd still is it still considered the UE4 rig? Yes. It's when the bones are missing, that's the issue, or complete different names, that's the issue. So if you've got extra bones, what it'll do, you'll see it come up and say, do you want to add these extra bones to the skeleton? You can, yes, add them to it. But yeah, that's what happened. As long as you're not taking away bones, you're not going to have. V-neck, will no collision automatically turn off generate overlap events too? Yes. Because it can't overlap. So even though generate overlap is still turned on, it won't ever generate because there's no collision. Naylor probably asked this a lot, but how do you keep yourself motivated to keep learning? I find I'm cramming too much. I'm not sure I'm taking it all in. When I go to practice, I draw a blank. Honestly, I love making games. For me, I like them because to me it's like a big puzzle, big logic puzzle, and I like trying to figure problems out and come to solutions. So I just love doing it, and I've always been using and making games forever. So I always want to know more and always want to learn more. I'm still learning, even though I'm now an official Unreal instructional person, authorized instructor. You're never going to stop learning. There's always going to be new things to learn, new things to grow in, new things to get better at. And there are certainly things in Unreal that I need to develop my skills in, that I want to get better in. And one good thing about doing this channel and meeting so many people with so many different projects is it does push me to want to investigate things that I wouldn't normally investigate, or do things I wouldn't normally do because I hadn't thought of them. Like just the other week, I did a golf game. I have no interest in making golf games, but someone wanted to know how to make a golf game, so I sat down and figured it out for them in our 90-minute session. Another person wanted to do like a Street Fighter type game and how to do combos, how to do like button combinations, and sat down and had to figure that out because I hadn't made a fighting game. I have no interest in fighting games, but it was an interesting problem to solve. So it's just building a passion for it. That's all. Gaming wins. Ryan Lady, I've been having problems with my third-person character shifting the Y-axis when you climb, causing a lot of bugging. Any quick fixes that you know of, or anyone else? It sounds like your climbing animation is not root locked. So if your animation actually going up, like actually going up on its own, and then slipping back down and breaking, that's because the root is moving and you don't want the root to move. Okay, so what you can do is in the animation have so you find the animation. This obviously isn't an example of a climbing animation, but you load up your climbing animation, and if it is actually moving off the spot, so like it actually is going up, yeah, it's not just faking it on the spot, you'd want to go down to root motion and just cause the force root lock clicked on, and that'll lock the root bone in its position. It won't animate it, so basically it zeroes out the animation on the root bone. I'm guessing that's the problem by what you're describing. Hard to know for certain without getting my eyes on it, but that's what it sounds like. Bernardo Sardina, what's the best way to create a stability system for a house building game? Something like Valheim. Interesting. Something again I haven't made before. How would I do it? So the best thing to think about is like how would it work in real life? So each building piece would have to store a strength limit. So what is the maximum weight and strength this thing can hold? And then it would measure everything above that's connected to it, maybe, or what's above it. It's hard to know for certain, actually. It'd be something like that, where you'd have to work out who's attached to you. So maybe you get what actors are attached but are above you, and that'd be like the stress on that piece. And if it gets too much, then it breaks. And you can reinforce it with other bits that get it. But yeah, I don't know. I just want to sit down and figure out. I have to come up with some ideas and brainstorm that one. Again, something that I won't be able to show right now, because it'll just take probably a whole session and then some. But yeah, I think something like that. I don't know, I'll have to sit down and figure that one out. I'm gonna cough. Oh dear. Ryan, I was wondering, how can you make a curved text in Unreal Engine? For example, a functional text like mana or HP text that follows the curvature of a widget. This is from Christian Holger. Interesting. Let's try and make it. I've not done this before, but I've got an idea of how you do it. So the main thing is, it'll be having something to do with the material. Change it, user interface material. Okay. And from here, we would do a texture coordinate, and then radial vector to radial value, and we take the radial coordinates maybe. So you have this coming out. Basically got to change the way the UV is rendering it. Right, let's add onto here. Add 0.5 to it. Is 0.5 or is it subtract? Might be subtract. Remember now. Or did it not update this thing? Give me a sec. The damn things. It's only it's add, not take away. Ultimately, you want something like this sort of pattern. But then how do you? Interesting. Okay. Add some text on here, because when you have text on here, you can add a material to it, and materials can be manipulating UVs and shapes and things. So down here we can go to font here. You've got font material. But like for example, if I just plug that in there, that's going to take the color of it. I don't want color. I just want to. Probably just make the thing in like Photoshop personally. No, it's just doing that spiral on there, isn't it? Yeah, plugging that into screen position won't do anything. I don't know. Not without doing some custom code stuff. I have to think about this one. Yeah, interesting one. Makes me want to try and figure it out though. It must have something to do with the material and changing the screen position. Because, like, for example, if I just took the absolute world position. Search. Don't know why it never finds world position. Yeah, if I put that in there like that, and then we should get back now, hopefully. There is also a screen position node. I don't know how it works. Widgets though. Oh no, it's there. Yeah, so you can like manipulate this by adding values to it. So like plug that in there, and like adding 100 to it. It will shift it along. But partner shaders. Doom Expert, you're way further than that with your clock. How do I set variable angles to let it know what a second is and a minute? Oh, you mean I was setting the angles of the hands? Oh, okay. Yeah, just take the angle. Like an angle is just 360 divided by 60, so 6. And for every second, you just times it by 6. For every minute, you times that by 6. Get you the angle of the hands. Do a little example of that. We're doing this. So if I put in just a border. So, and I said this border, give you this, we'll do 250 there. I ideally have like an image. So the transform of this, the angle is going to be rotating around the center. If I change the pivot to 0, yeah, should now rotate around that bit. Okay. So yeah, if that 0, by the way, is this angle here where it's like dead flat, like that. So if I want this to be like the second hand, this, I'm going to duplicate this and put that in the same place. This one I'll change the color of slightly. And change the length of it. Okay. So which one's second hand? Yeah, Jay, may have to be something like that'd be one of like dirty workaround. It's not going to be ideal, but you have to do the angle per each box. Yeah, may well be. We just want the minute hand. I can't spell today. Jesus, what was that spelling? So these need to be variable. Each of these. And on here, we have to update on tick. This is a clock. Clock tick. Hey. So do now, and we'll just break that. And I'm going to take out my second hand. Yet. And actually, we'll do this also on the pre-construct so we can test it a bit quick, easier. I'll take the second hand here, and we're going to set transform angle, and we're going to take the seconds times by a float of 6, and then we want to add value to it, because at the moment, because 0 starts off like that, clocks don't start like that, they start like that. So we'll have to add a float to it of 90 minus 90. Hang on. Yeah. So it is minus 90. And that will go into the clock hand. And we'll put that on tick. And then we'll do the minute one. So do minute hand. Set render transform angle. And it'll be basically the same thing. So minute multiplied by float 60. Again, we're going to add minus 90 to it. Offset it, and then yeah, that should do it. I also put this in the pre-construct, so every time I compile it, we should see it update to my current time as well. Fingers crossed. Yay, there you go. So it's now updating to show the clock time for me. So this is 37, so that's the wrong angle. I did change the offset, I think. So 37 basically would be 180 on that, wouldn't it? It would be, so let's do plus 90 on that. No. Yeah. See? That. 180 then. Oh wait, I'm times it by 60, that's right. Whoops. Put it back to minus 90. I'll say minus 90 felt like it. Oopsie. There you go. That makes more sense. So yeah, there's my clock. Okay, so every time I compile it, it'll update to show the current time. You can see the second hand going around. And because it's on a tick, you'll see this in-game doing its job. Yeah. And if you want to make it sure, not wasting the tick here, we can go down here somewhere. Maybe do it on here. Can you actually change the tick rate on? I don't think I've ever tried. Because you can't change tick rates on widgets. So yeah, you can. I'll probably use a timer rather than a tick. Do it update every second. rather than on a tick, but unless it is. So if that's what you're trying to do, Doom Expert, now got clock hand time stuff. We'll add that to the screen so we can see it in game. Do a begin play here somewhere. Whoops. Create widget and new widget blueprint. Add to viewport, and we should see that second hand just ticking around. Yep, like that. Okay. So there you go. Working clock. Analog clock. If we want to add obviously an hour hand to it, it's the same concept. But with hour hand, it's 12. But I mean, you could also do it by decrements as well, because if you want it to be like showing in between numbers, then yeah, you just divide it by a factor of 12. So 120, for example. You get 10 increments per. Whatever you want to do. There you go. Working clock. Okay, next question. Let's go. Bernardo, so far, what's the best game that you've played this year? Probably Psychonauts 2. That game is just great. There's nothing wrong with it. It's good fun. I completed it today, but I want to go back in and try and 100% it. That's one I've really enjoyed. But quite my type of game. Robert Garcia, question: using the Footstep Surface plugin, how do we ensure landscape layer info will be sorted for Footstep Notify? I'm having a hard time making the tracer hit the right layer on a multi-layered landscape with no weight layers and weighted layers. Huh? No, hang on, with no weight layers and weighted layers. Oh, right, okay. So you'll need the weight if you want to do like a mixture of things. So, like for example, if you've got like gravel and snow, you'll need weighting on that in order to do that. It should have weight on it, ideally. So if it's a half and half, you'll get sound from 2. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to know for certain, because obviously that is a plugin that I don't make, so I can't comment on how the intricacies of it work. But for ground, what you typically are doing is you're just checking the material that you're walking on, and yeah. Xbex, I've been working on MMORPG for about a month now, and I'm hitting countless amounts of frustrating networking issues. Any advice? Yeah, don't make an MMORPG about it. It's surprising like how many people who are trying to get into game development want to make an MMORPG. The problem with MMORPGs is it is probably one of the hardest games to make, because it's not only just networking things aside, so you're not just making like really complex networking stuff, but it's also systems heavy. So it has loads of interconnecting parts to it, loads of stuff involved in it. It's really, really, really difficult to do, and you will be bashing your head against it for a long time. So I would advise against doing MMORPG. Keep in mind, like for example, MMORPG, just to give you an idea of how hard they are. The ones that are existing, like WoW and Final Fantasy 14, they have hundreds, if not thousands, of people working on it, and it still takes them 3 to 4 years to get completed. And then they're always still fixing it and still making it better. So it's It is an absolute mission to get it done. RPGs, just even offline RPGs, are difficult because again, it's those systems. Because you have like an equipment system, a loot system, a crafting system, a inventory system, a shopkeeper system, and they all interweave and interconnect with each other and change stuff. And with RPGs, because everything's variable and everything can be changed on the fly during the game, you have to account for all that stuff and still make the game fun. That's one thing people should take away as well, is as a game developer, your job is not necessarily to just make a game. It's also to make a game that's going to be fun to play. So I do get a lot of people asking like for advice on how to make MMORPGs and battle royales. And I always say, especially if it's your first game, don't. They're so difficult to get right. Networking alone is difficult. I would only ever attempt an MMORPG if I was 100% more confident with things like networking, server backends, and things of that nature. Otherwise, I would not bother with it. Yeah. It's not nice. Yeah, complete absolute nightmare. And as you're saying, you're hitting countless amounts of frustrating networking issues. They're the problems you're going to be coming up against. But if you're determined to go with it, the thing to be watching out for is making sure things are relevant when they need to be relevant, and try to limit as much of the network that needs to happen. So, for example, MMORPGs work with global tick rates and things like that, to make server loads a bit nicer, easier. You're ultimately just sending commands to other players about what animation should be shown or effect should be taking place. But the server side code is where it gets tricky. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's gonna be hard. I would always advise against it, especially for indie, and especially for if you're new to game development. That's like, say, that's a pipe dream. I wouldn't bother. I wouldn't try making one. And I like to think I know roughly what I'm doing. So, yeah. As much as I would love to make an MMORPG, I've always dreamed of making one, but I will never make one. Hi Ryan, if I use the teleport node, how would I be able to count how many teleports have been done? So when you mean this node, you mean, yeah? Yeah. So when you do this, you just store an int. You just increment an int. So number oh no, what am I doing? Place. To make an int, I hear like teleport number, and make that an int. And after you call it teleport, you just drag out teleport number and increment it, so plus. That adds 1 to it. And that'll keep track of it, and you can see how many times you teleported. If you need to reset that number after a certain amount of time, then set up a timer that will randomly not randomly, but a set timer that will just reset it back to 0. Yeah. Shumeo, what did I do to become an Epic Games instructor? And congratulations, thank you. So, it's a multi-stage thing. So the first stage is you have to fill out a form talking about what you do, your experience with the engine, experience with teaching people, and things like that. You send it off, and that gets looked at. And if they like what they see there, then you get asked to do a test. And the test is like I think, was it multiple choice? I can't remember now. I don't know, a while ago. So if it's multiple, I think it's multiple choice. It's like 20 questions long about all parts of the aspects of the engine, how it works. So you do that, and you have to hit a certain percentage on that. I think you have to get like 14 out of 20, I think, for that. I can't recall. And then if that's successful, and they're happy with that, and they're happy with the written work that you've done for it as well, then they ask me to provide 2 filmed hour-long sessions live with people. So I've done. They give you one, which is going to be like the basics of Unreal and blueprints, and then there's one that's free choice. So I done 2 sessions, one basic, and the free choice one I done was AI stuff. So I done like a AI course class with some people, and I sent off those videos, and then I had to wait for them to review them, and they score them, and you get a score at the end of it, and you have to hit a certain threshold. You have to hit like 60% overall. I think it's percentage. They don't make it too clear. 60% overall, and I got like 82%. I think it's percentage. Sure. Again, not very clear. They do that, send you contracts, and that's it. But the stipulations are, for example, that it's not just that you have to demonstrate that you have knowledge of the engine. You have to demonstrate you have work in industry or relationship with industry to do stuff. So my relationship is that I do consulting work and training for companies already. So that was something I was already doing. So it ticked all the boxes. Do I plan on posting any C++ based tutorials? Yeah, I do plan on doing it. I don't know when. At the moment, I'm up to my neck in work, so I don't know. But yeah, it is on the to-do list of the Great Ether. We'll see when we get there, but it won't be this year, unfortunately. The rest of this year is going to be the JRPG stuff. There's a cinematic storyline telling thing coming out as well later in October, November time. Starting probably November, maybe. As well as other little ones, obviously. But no, I don't think we'll have a C++ one before. Charles XD. Oh, so sorry. Hey Ryan, I'm doing a co-op horror game where the idea is to avoid getting caught by that AI, and I'm wondering how can I end the game once all players are down? Any ideas on how to accomplish this? Okay, so if it's a co-op horror game, your game mode is what's going to lead this. So when the player gets down, they need to send a command to the server to go, hey, I'm down. So on your player character, for example, you may have a custom event on here. And this would be like character downed, for example. And this would be a server only event to run on server. So on the client side, they're like doing like taking damage or whatever causes them to go down. We'll call this event, and the server version of this character will do the character down, which may be like an animation. But more importantly, what it will do is you'll get the execute server, you get the game mode, and you technically don't have to check to see if you are on the authority switch, because technically this should only run on server and the game mode only exists on the server. Nonetheless, it's a good idea, just put it in there anyway. And if it's on authority, you get the game mode, cast to your game mode, and in there you'll have like a tracker of how many players have been downed or revived or whatever. And you also have a tracker, like an array of who is in the game, so you can check all their statuses and catch up where they are. And if they're all down, then go to next screen, go animations, whatever it may be. But yeah. Do I play Magic the Gathering? I don't. I used to years and years ago, back in school, I think. Cool. Played it a little bit, not much. I do like it, but I just don't have time for it. How many items on your to-do list? Way too many. So the to-do list is it varies, and it's no real it used to be prioritized. Now it isn't. What leads to the priority of it is typically what I'm doing outside of this. So, for example, like not only am I doing YouTube videos, live streams, and so forth, but I do one-to-one sessions, and I do training and consulting for studios, individuals, and so forth, all over the place. And it usually comes from that. Like for example, the cinematic storytelling bit, the dialogue, cinematics dialogue, which is like Mass Effect dialogue, where you've got like cutscene type esque dialogue sequences with multiple choice wheels and so forth. That stemmed from a one-to-one I was having with someone, and that's led to like getting sponsorships for it and things like that. So that came about because of that. The JRPG one started as early in the year, and he's still a patron, so thank you, Cody, for being a patron still. He's doing an RPG, and I like RPGs. I love Final Fantasy, so I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna have a crack at doing a JRPG, and that was where that started. So like just at the start of summer, before summer, I was experimenting with some JRPG, like how would I do it? And in the last week, I've filmed about 45 episodes of it. I haven't slept much this past week. It's been a long nights. Yeah, about 45 episodes in total, I think. List of hang on, I've lost it. Yeah, it's a long one. Yeah, they're not edited; they're just filmed. I've got a big folder, so they're like. I wanted to do something different with this series. Was that I wanted to film the whole lot first and then edit it weekly. Usually in the past, because of workloads and like me working at the college, when I don't work there anymore, but working at the college, I couldn't do this. I had to do one at a time. So it was like a nightmare to try and get stuff done, and that's why you'll find there's like big gaps between series, or big gaps in like trying to figure things out and so forth. But this one was a little bit different. So this one I made the whole thing first, and then I made it again and filmed it whilst I was making it, and stopped starting for different episodes, because then I wanted to be able to show everyone the end result before it started. So you, at the start on episode 1, you know what you're buying into, and you can go, okay, I know what I want, and all the assets are there, all ready for you because I've used them and they're already there. So you know what you're getting into when you want to join it. So it's really interesting to try and do that. And plus that means I've got a bank of episodes that I've got there sitting there that I can just now edit rather than film and worry about trying to find time to film it. So I'm gonna try what my goal is that each month I will sit down and film a whole series of videos. Some will be big ones like JRPG. Some will be small, like the physics-based interactions. That one's only 5 episodes. But I filmed the whole series of that as well. So it is. Now it's all filmed in this month. Next month I'll film something else, which will be the cinematic dialogue stuff. That'll be the Nut series. So I hopefully have like a bank of stuff I can just edit and put together. As well as just advertise and promote a lot better and things like that. Like more trailers, like the JRPG one I released yesterday, was it? Yeah. But yeah. Are you paying someone to edit those? No, it's all me. I've got to sit down and edit them. Bernardo, did you make an asset flip for this month? Yes, I haven't finished it yet, but yes, I'm hoping to get it done by the end of the month. The thing about this month was, annoyingly, because the assets come out on the first Tuesday of the month. Well, this month the first Tuesday was actually like over a week into the month. It was a nightmare. So I was like, I had to wait ages to actually see what assets I had. So I was gonna be lagged no matter what. So I was like, okay. So yes, asset flip is coming. I'm really hoping to get it done by the end of the month, but we'll see how well it goes. Da, 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 da. Chronicle Alchemist, is there a way how I can check if my AI is moving without using ticks? Because some of my zombies stop to chase me after they spawn, but that happens randomly, so I can't figure out why. I mean, there's not really a way to do it. No. The way I would approach that is, well, I'll try and figure out why it's not doing the work that it's meant to be doing. So why are they stopping to chase you? Stop chasing you after they spawned. But how do you do it? You need there's no real way of doing it without a tick. You'd have to put on a tick. But if you're doing just a test to find out where it's going wrong, put on the tick whilst you're debugging it. And then you can always take it off later when you find the solution. Because obviously you're using it to debug to find the solution, not to make the solution. So find the solution through that and then fix it and remove it. But there's no like event to call when it starts moving. So a couple of things that would stop AI chasing you is the most common thing people do is that they forget that to expand the nav mesh to cover it all, because if the player is outside of the nav mesh, a move 2 will fail. So yeah, you need to make sure the nav mesh covers everything, the player's inside of it when you're could he use a breakpoint? Not really, especially if it's ticking like he is, because it's going to be constantly doing an AI move 2 and it's constantly doing that check. It'll probably keep breaking, like stopping, and you're not going to get anything worthwhile out of it. Could that happen when I'm in a collision without nav mesh under it? Yeah, that will break it. It will break if you're not in any nav mesh, so you have to make sure you're in a nav mesh. Deadfire Studios. Are you ever going to make a zombie AI series? Yes. So the bit of history for you. I was going to make a zombie AI series last year. And in fact, Patreon's actually got access to the first part of it. But I am going to redo it from scratch to do something better with it and make it more of like an actual course. So it's what I like to call a premium course. So there are different tiers of videos I try to make. So there's the how-tos, which are really quick, very simple. People really like them because they're really short and they answer just one question basically, or like how to do XYZ. Then there's the one-offs, which are things like game mechanics that can be answered in one video. That's longer than a how-to. Then there are the mini series, like the physics-based interaction. So these are like 5 to 10 episodes long, roughly. And they could be ones that you can go back to later to add more to. And then there's the long series, which are like JRPG, RTS, and so on and so forth. They are the bigger ones that take up over 10 episodes. And then there's the premium series, and the premium series are different because they're structured slightly differently. Although I've tried to make the longer series and the new videos mimic it a little bit, but ultimately it's structured slightly differently and more suited for like an interactive online learning thing. That will come with challenges and things like that. And that's more for like a Skillshare, Udemy, and so forth, and then later released on YouTube and Patreon. Not Zen. How will you move a first-person character? Not movement, but like move the camera to a new location. How you move a first-person character? Not movement. If it's first-person though, you move the camera. You're moving the person. Sure. Yeah. Can you clarify that for me? How do you make a hold button interact to build an item like in Lego games? So you have like your E key, for example. By the way, if you didn't realize you could do this, because someone from my one-to-ones yesterday didn't realize that if you click this little button here, you can then tap the key you want to use. It'll set it to the key. But yeah. So use E here. So if you want to do a hold to interact, for example, you'd have like a start to interact type thing. So I would do there's loads of ways of doing it. You could do like a we could do a sequence here. No, what would be the best way of doing this? You could do like a timer based system. Probably do a delay system as well. So if you would do like a timer based thing, set timer. Wrong. Set timer by event, and the event is one called interact, and the time is how long you need to hold the button down for, which could come from the object itself, but for example 3 seconds would be fine. And then you take the return value here and promote that to a variable. If you ever need to change something about a timer, like cancel it or whatever like that, you need to promote this to a timer variable. Then when you release it, you take the timer variable here, and then you clear and invalidate that time. So if you release it before the time has happened, it basically doesn't do it. And then for UI, if you want to show the UI, with that variable, you can also get the time remaining. You can get time remaining and then use that to draw like a circle, bar or whatever. But yeah, so that'll probably be the cleanest way of doing it. Yeah. So there's loads of ways of doing it. As people saying, like, is input key down? You could do that to a timeline. You could do that as well. Like force the camera to a new location with blueprints if you want to move the player by force. If you want to move the player by force, I see what you mean. Okay, so you want you're playing as a player character, then something's going to move your character without you moving it. Yeah, that's AI. So you can just tell it, or you can do move component 2, I guess, either as well. So you got AI method. So for example, let's say this is our event here, and yeah, whatever. This is when you want it to do it. You have to get the player controller, unpossess, and then on this actor, the player character, you spawn default controller. And what this do, it will spawn the AI controller for it and possess it straight away. Now it has AI controls. Now you can do like AI move 2, and then it will follow the track around. So that's if you want to use navigation to find its way to where you want it to go. If you're not bothered by that, and you just want to move the player character, your event would look something like this. So, I would get the player controller, and on here, disable, no, ignore, that's it, move, set ignore move input, that on, and then you do move component 2, and just plug in the root component in here. Move the root, you move the whole thing, and you put its relative location, so it has to be relative. So if it's a wild location you're getting, so like a vector, for example, take vector. So imagine this is my world location I want it to go to. I'll have to transform this to a relative location. To transform, if you hover, I can never remember which one is which, but inverse transform location, that goes from world space to local space, as it says in the tooltip. You put that in there, and then put in the transform you want it, which would be the actor transform. But chances are you want your AI character to take over and navigate it, because move component 2 is going to go just in a straight line. So it'd be better probably with AI, but depends what kind of game you're making, I guess. The only thing you have to watch out for is the relative rotations and location. But yeah. What's happening for time? Okay, I think we're going to take one more question, maybe. And then we'll have to end it there, I'm afraid. What can we... hey Ryan, how do you go about changing the audio of the game through a slider? Okay, so here, on our widget here, we have a slider. Yep. It is, and you can design it however you want to design it. But more importantly, it has a value, and the value goes between 0 and 1. So if you want this to change, say, like volume, that slider comes with some events on here. And you want on value changed. Click that. And then you just get the audio stuff you want to change or whatever. But then you just set that value to if I go to so I'll pick one of these ones. Just to video. Let's pick something from here. We'll need, well, you'll need to create a thing first, I guess, won't you? Damn, it's not gonna be as cool. But anyway, this is the event that you want to use, and this comes out here. So you have, when you spawn your audio object, you'll have it stored as a reference. If it's a submix, you get the master submix and change that. So I'll probably get that. Nope, can't. At least not on this. Get on the actors. Master. Audio. May just have to get it like. Get the submix. Should have master one. So you take the master submix out. I've done this on the wrong thing, but anyway, you get this, and then you'd be able to like set submix output volume. Okay? And you'll plug that into that event that's on here. Value here. As the value changes, it'll change. That's it. Anyway, that brings us to the end of this week's question time. Thank you everyone for your questions and everyone for joining in today. And again, I want to say massive thank you to everyone who thanked me and congratulated me. Who congratulated me yesterday. It means a lot. Thank you very much. And as always, thank you to all my patrons, YouTube members for your continued support. Next month is the anniversary month for the channel. So you can expect to see some announcements, some cool stuff happening. So keep an eye out for that, including some giveaways, some deals, and competitions. So come back next month definitely to make sure you catch that. But that is it for me tonight. I should be going to bed, but I'm probably going to stay up and do some bit more work. So thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.